you are a B2B service-based business owner and you are looking to gain more clients, create more impact and more revenue in your business, tune in to Amplify Your Marketing Message with Christine Campbell-Rappin. Every week, we're going to take you through how to build an audience of buyers, mastering your marketing message, and making offers. Welcome back, everybody, to a new episode. I am excited to introduce our guest today. We all are a little rattled around AI. And if you're a business owner, you're also wobbling in terms of what will happen as it relates to being found by your next client. And can we actually embrace the guesswork or say, not on my watch? Let's kick that to the curb and actually create a winning strategy so that we can continue to see that real waterfall effect of dream leads finding us, showing up and saying, I love what you're doing. I think I need that result. Tell me more about your services. So I'm super excited to introduce our guest today. This is a gentleman that's coming all the way across the pond, so super fun for that. It's fun to walk through my own storyline of the UK accent. Please welcome Adam Hamadash to our show. Super excited to have you here. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Great. Thank you, Christine. Thank you for having me.
Absolute pleasure. You've been at this game quite a while, and you believe that every business has its own obligation to build a digital asset. So talk to me about this concept that you said to me, you have to have an AI shadow and you have to manage it. What does that mean? And start me at the beginning.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I think, if we break it right down to the most simplest of formats, we do a lot of SEO, search engine optimization. Search is probably more accurate to say search everywhere optimization now, obviously with the emergence of AI search and all the AI platforms. What seems to be happening, so traditionally what used to happen is you would make a branded search about a particular business and say, hey, I'm interested in this particular business, tell me more about that, and you'd go to their website. Or you'd make a non-branded search. So we do most of our work in the hotel and hospitality sector, so it might be, hotels in New York that you search for, and that's a non-branded search, and you get a whole load of offers. What tends to happen, or what previously happened, is you'd either pay for some ads to try to get that visibility when people are making those searches, or you would invest in like search engine optimization to appear in the page one and get a really high organic positioning. What's different now is that sort of this bit in between, and I kind of like to refer to it as your AI shadow, and it's like an interpretation of your brand. So this can take many different forms. It could be on ChatGPT, it's a summary of your business. On Google, it could be an AI overview, or it could feature in Google's AI mode or any other platform. But the key distinction is that as a business, as a brand, you've worked hard probably to own your digital assets. So you've built your website, you've curated your social media feed, you've optimized aggregator listings, if that's relevant for your sector. The new AI shadow is not something you own, but increasingly it's the thing that customers are seeing before they even get to any of that other stuff that you've worked hard to create. So it's almost like a combination of your online reputation, your unique selling points of your business or your product, and a sort of an impartial critique, as if you're a restaurant, like a journalist has come and experienced your dining and has given a sort of impartial critique about your product. That's all kind of wrapped into one. And the problem is that sometimes that's really great and very favorable, and other times it's not. And that's where I think a lot of businesses need to be aware of what their AI shadow is and basically what AI is saying about them.
This is interesting because it's people are taking great weight from what I hear in the opinions of others, which has always been true. Social proof is a huge part of getting to yes fast with a client, because while you can say you're great, with the fact that somebody else actually says you're great has a bigger weight in many influential decisions. And you're saying that you have to be aware of what it is. And while you can curate it, you also should audit it, because if it's not as glowing, and that's, I know, a biggest fear for people in the digital age as business owners is what happens if I find somebody spewing hate or leaving bad reviews or leaving an impression in the marketplace that has huge implications for my business. And I want to ask you, is there anything specific we can do to influence it or to start seeing, first off, what's the first impression AI is offering in a response to a search?
Yeah, I mean, I think the obvious thing is to just what I traditionally say, Google your own business, but now it's probably more accurate to say ChatGPT it, if that's such a term. Ask an AI platform and multiple ones. Obviously, ChatGPT is growing in such high volumes and such rapid numbers. So go into ChatGPT and ask it about your own brand, but also ask for a pros and cons list of, I'm thinking about working with this business. Tell me about the pros and cons of perhaps working with them, and what is happening there is the large language model that you've asked is effectively scouring the internet across everywhere that you're mentioned, whether you're mentioned in the press, your website, your social media. If you're a sector that has independent review sites, like obviously, as I say, we work mostly with hotels, so TripAdvisor, Google, all of the there's huge amounts of sort of online reputation. It's picking out all of those things and it's trying to find the good and the bad and provide it as an impartial summary. So really, what you've got to kind of think of it like ChatGPT in this instance is working on behalf of the person that made the prompt, the searcher, not your business. So they're going to kind of give you the warts and all version of your business. So I'd say that's probably a good place to start. In terms of influencing your AI shadow, there's a whole load of stuff. There's almost like I always say with SEO or anything that is ultimately there to drive more visibility, there's about 300 different dials that you can sort of turn. Sure, right, which I won't give you 300. But I would say probably the most important thing right now is technical. So technical SEO. So you do a basic site audit, which has obviously been around for a long time. You could have the most beautifully crafted, aesthetically pleasing, high converting website, but it could be a bit of a mess in the back end in terms of all of the technical errors and warnings. So understanding those, the reason why those are important, they've always been important in SEO, but now they carry more weight because a lot of the times those technical errors and warnings are impeding the large language models from properly crawling or technically passing through your website to be able to understand what you're about. And the harder you make it for them, the less likely they are to recommend you and sort of crawl through your content. So certainly getting the technical stuff fixed. For example, if you've got duplicate meta descriptions on various pages, it's a simple one. A meta description is the kind of the 2 or 3 sentence summary of your page that traditional search engines use to work out what your page is about. Having duplicate ones is just kind of making things really difficult for those robots. So you want to make sure that that's fixed pretty quickly. So
everybody listen up. The time of thinking that SEO doesn't matter because AI is coming around is over. You need to just pop that bubble of missed expectation. It is imperative you take ownership of your site, and you do not need to go now become a YouTube expert in SEO. You hire people like Adams and his team to come and say, give me the goods, fix this fast, and let's build from here, because intentional reputation management is really important. Guys, you are for sure wanting to influence where you can, and the best way you can influence, do what you say you're going to do. I mean, this is just a given. I think you should have a high standard of service, and you should represent yourself on the level, because truthfully, people have really good BS meters these days. And you want to build the people that you want to serve finding you. And now it's also step into a bigger way because AI is having a bigger influence. And do you think that because AI has become so important in the last few years and it's just gaining momentum, and certainly in the entrepreneurs, I think we're early adopters more than the general population. And so if you're serving B2B, guys, really important that you step into this. Do you think that if you'd had SEO done 3 years ago, that it's good enough given the AI changes? Or do you think that there is significant ways to revisit or need to revisit now?
I would say that if you made an investment 3 years ago and you sort of had it for a period of time and you got to a level of visibility that you were happy with in terms of that return, that's good. That's a solid foundation. But there are so many fundamentals that have changed in the discipline of search engine optimization, or search everywhere optimization, as I say, is probably more accurate, that you need to look at it again. We've had from Google enormous sort of seismic, forgive the hyperbole, but it's almost like enormous algorithm updates that just change the whole search landscape. It means that business websites that have been traditionally ranking really, really highly have just dropped down to the to the bottom. For example, one of the last big update we had in 2025, which was around August time, that was a big shift. We saw huge volatility. The one before that was March 2024. And to give you an example, the New York Times lost 8% visibility overnight. BBC News here in the UK lost 37% visibility just from that update. And there was a correction and it worked it out. But ultimately, those in my sector now have to work extremely hard to keep abreast of these new changes. And I think the point needs to be made around there's a big difference between, there's a subtle difference, I should say, between how traditional Google you optimize for traditional Google sort of page one, and how you optimize for platforms like ChatGPT. And there are certain things that carry a little bit more weight. So I would say, one of the first things that any business owner or our marketer should be looking at is, getting a sort of a full technical audit of your website done. Having a look at some of those things that you might not just be aware of. A lot of us spend time in B2B marketing, focusing on, the non-technical stuff, social media, whatever the outreach, email, whatever it is. But some of the technical stuff can get sort of hidden from us, and those things can really harm our businesses.
So everyone listening here, there's a really good takeaway, which is not only if you haven't looked at this in a while, it should be a shame on you if you did keep it into that place of ignorance. But more importantly, I also want you to be thinking about your business long term. This means budget every year for an audit. Budget every year for staying current, because I know I saw the same thing come across from my inbox from somebody I believe is a very strong technical expert. And he was talking about some of those significant, what happens if you just become a secret? Even if you have this massive reputation. Most small businesses don't have the same luxury of BBC. They don't have the same awareness globally in their destination, in which case if you didn't come up in search, I would still know how to spell your name. I'd still be able to go into the search bar and find you. But if you're a small business, guys, don't make this infinitely harder. There's plenty of things in your business that are super hard, but hiring a technical expert and budgeting for it every year to say, let's keep in touch with what's going on the technical aspect. And it doesn't have to be you. Again, do not become a YouTube expert in this. Go hire somebody who's great at it, because your biggest thing is finding your next client. Never mistake that. You've heard me say this time and time again on the show. As a business owner, as the CEO of your business, your number one responsibility is the next client, not the current client. And you should be budgeting for this, because I want to shift gears here and talk about the fact that this is moving, right? So we're saying budget, we're saying go ahead, we're saying you got to stay current, but how do you build a future-proofed digital strategy? What is the fundamentals you're saying are non-negotiable? Wake up, smell the coffee, let's go.
Yeah, so I think to cover some of the maybe cross some ground that we've already covered, but the technical side of things is really important. So I like to refer to these as sort of visibility anchors, because they're sort of anchoring your website from getting the visibility it needs. So making sure that your site is technically sound. So that's the first. I would say there is greater weight that needs to be put on your online reputation. I like to think of it like this. Every negative review that you've got about your business is now kind of actively working against you like never before. For consumer-faced businesses like often the ones that we work in the hotel sector, obviously, every hotel's got hundreds or thousands of reviews, and a 4.5 stars out of 5 is still pretty good, but there's a whole load of negative stuff in there. So it's trying to find those sentiments. So for more B2B business owners, I would say, pushing more more positive reviews to platforms like Google is really, really important. It's always been important, but there's just that extra onus on, it's carrying that extra weight. But I would also say, content on your website is now, again, more important than perhaps it's ever been. A big question that often is asked of me is, can we actually use AI, generative AI, to create website copy, whether that be our main websites or blogs or what have you? And the answer is actually yes, you can do that. For a time, it was a big no-no, but Google's kind of come out and said, yeah, that's okay, but a big but. And the big but is it's got to follow a certain framework. So what Google's, I sort of alluded to the algorithm updates that have been happening over the last year or two. Much of that has been about stopping the plethora of AI, poor quality AI content that has sort of submerged the internet. We all found,
like it's vomited all over the place.
Well, exactly. I mean, do you remember those days when we first, when you first tried ChatGPT and you're like, oh my God, I could churn out 50 blogs today. This is nuts. So a lot of website publishers and owners did that. And of course, Google's sort of working hard to make sure that the bad quality stuff is not ranking. So that's where these big algorithm updates have come from. So you can use AI to generative AI to write these blog pieces, but it has to follow the EEAT framework, which in plain English is experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. So to give you give your listeners a practical example of this, make sure your blogs, if you're doing blogs on the website, they are written and they appear from a real person, not just a faceless brand. Use stories, not just, sort of generic stuff that you're talking about, to say, well, actually, my experience in this particular topic is this, and, bring in those anecdotes. That's what it's really looking for. So, I would say finally, the last thing is just making sure that, what used to happen with SEO is you'd pick your keywords and you say, I want to rank for that, so I'll write a content piece. Now that doesn't really cut it. It's more about topical authority. So you've kind of got to take a topic, think about every conceivable way that you could write about that topic, and then make sure you're creating content that follows that EEAT framework, and then interlinking. So it gets a bit intense. There's a lot to consider, and business owners have, it's the new thing that you've got to find some budget for. But I would say, given where we are at the moment, it's expected that AI search will surpass traditional search by 2028. So we need to be working now to make sure that we're staying visible when this big shift comes.
Personally, this makes my anticipated butterflies lift, because I've said this to the rooftops, and it's not been a popular opinion the last 5 years. It's shifting now. But I've said since the beginning, you've got to remember you get hired for your opinion. And the world had been in a place where opinions weren't really comfortable. We middled to the middle of mediocrity. And I said, remember, when you're especially a small business, I said, yes, you do a thing, but how you do it, the lens in which you carry is what will make the person who is your person say yes. Mm-hmm. And so what I hear from this is, if you're going to just be average or ordinary and talk about a general thing, that doesn't serve the audience that's seeking. It doesn't serve for sure the buyer. And if I can lean into, this is my opinion on something, this is my expertise on something, this is a personal experience I've had, you will have a lot of airtime. And you will win this world, yes, in a combo of personal and AI. And to me, that's super exciting, because I say it to all my clients, never forget, you have to have an opinion on something, because you are pulling through the 8 million people or 8 billion people on the planet to the people that say, if we have common values, I want to learn more about your service. But if you never tell me what your values are, because you never share your opinion or your face, there's a trust deficit. And trust is the hardest piece in AI, which is why I'm sort of applauding the learned language models by saying we've got to find a way to bring the human into this. And it's not doing a fabulous job, but it's getting better. And I think it's interesting you say 2028 is just around the corner.
I mean, it's not going to sort of, it's going to be a gradual scale between now and then, and those are the best predictions. But I think, 2026, I think, is going to be the biggest shift. I mean, probably everybody has said that in the year prior to the following. But I think, the way in which ChatGPT is opening up to apps for the first time in its history, which should be sort of coming mostly to a global audience in early 2026. That means, you can book hotels, you can design stuff in Canva, you can do all manner of things right within the platform. So yeah, it's going to be a big change, and every business needs to be ready.
I sat last January in a room with somebody who was talking about the already present capabilities of agentic AI. And it was mind-blowing. And I was like, it's also terrifying, but I'm like, I can't wait till the time where I as a human can talk as a human and say, I need the following done, and then watch it wizard do it. And I was in a room just last month where we started to see it. And it's not that it hadn't existed, that it hasn't commercialized, been broadcast as available. And that's going to speed. And that's going to be where 2026 comes into play. And so, this is super exciting, but I love that it will take the guesswork out of it. And guys, you're going to take the guesswork out of it by saying it's a priority, I'll budget for it, and I'll hire for it. So as I lead to that, I always want to ask every guest that comes onto our platform, what's working for you right now to bring clients into your business and to see that gain of momentum from some of the cool things that you have expertise on?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think it's probably twofold for me in my agency. The first is visibility. So we've obviously we practice what we preach. We treat ourselves as our own client on our specialism. So we're actively working to improve our visibility across traditional and AI search. So certainly that one. But also, I think for me is speaking this year, I've traveled to I think 4 or 5 different countries to do keynote presentations. We've done more LinkedIn Live than I care to remember. Just sharing our thought leadership around, okay, we see what's happening in the marketplace. This is where I think businesses need to be aware of, and banging that drum. And every once in a while, someone will come put their hand up and say, "That was really interesting. Can we talk?" So for sure, those two things are really working for us at the moment.
I love it. Well, and speaking is something that AI can't duplicate, because it is a real human delivery, and it is, I think, for sure the fastest path to cash. So I applaud you on both. So talk to us about, you've got an opportunity of something that's launching in the new year, and people want to know about it and get on the wait list and be involved. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, great. Yes. So we've developed aligned with our conversation, we've developed a platform called Score Plan. I think I'm very mindful. I could talk for days on this, as you probably gathered, but the idea that AI search is coming, everybody's got their own ideas. Is Google going to die? Is SEO going to die? There's so much noise around what brands have to actually do. So we thought we set about trying to simplify that message. So the platform will ultimately give you one simple score and one simple plan on what to action. So it's going to find that score from about 30 different data points that are all aligned with how these large language models and traditional search are showing you on the internet. So give you one simple score and then a sort of a prioritized action plan. So we're launching the platform in 2026. We've got a waitlist live right now at scoreplan.ai, and we're going to be offering it for free to a handful of first customers to try the platform, show us what you think, and we put whole loads of value in the free version too. So go to scoreplan.ai to join the waitlist, and we'll keep you abreast of those changes.
Guys, this is the easiest invitation to not make this complicated. So I want you to take advantage. You got the link down in the chat below. I want to make sure you connect and follow and look to hire this service, because I think it is imperative that you focus where you're great and you recognize the importance of the technical back end. It is going to be more and more important than ever before. And I know this with certainty. You've got great things to do. You've got people that need to find you, and let's get you found. Adam, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on our platform. Guys, this is about AI search and winning with it. Step forward, say yes, grab that resource, look at that as a key critical part of your success story. Thanks for being on our show today.
Great. Thanks, Christine.
That's a wrap on another amazing episode of Amplify Your Marketing Message with me, your host, Christine Campbell-Rappin. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss another great episode. And be sure to visit christinecampbellrappin.com/podcast to get a free resource on how to master your marketing message. We'll see you all